now we are down to motivation to carry you through your week. Listen, I was actually doing a cameo last night, and it actually had a lot to do with motivation. I think that in today's society, we have one of the most wealthy societies in history, in the history of any sort of human civilization. We have, you know, one of the wealthiest societies, and yet we have record rates of depression. Why is that? I think that is very much indicative of the fact that being rich does not mean you're happy. You know, having everything you need doesn't necessarily make you happy, and that all comes down to a state of mind and how you think and how you feel and how you motivate yourself. All right, you know, with social media being so addictive, you know, we spend so much time being mindless, heartless drones scrolling through the internet, comparing ourselves and contrasting our lives with somebody else's lives, comparing our level 1 to somebody else's level 1000. You know, I went so far as to say, you know, Shawn Michaels didn't start off Shawn Michaels, guys. Like, at first he came out of the womb Michael Shawn Hickenbottom, okay? We all have to go through our own journeys to become who we're supposed to be someday. And we make decisions that ultimately, you know, impact who we are and who we become and what we're able to accomplish. You know, things like keeping up with the Joneses and FOMO, fear of missing out, are what ultimately keep you poor and keep you from reaching your fullest potential as a human being. You know, as children, we all have dreams for a reason, and maybe some are realistic, maybe some aren't. But what is stopping you right now from going after one of those dreams that you had when you were a child? You know, if you look around, ask yourself, do you like the view that you see? Do you like who you are right now? Are you being the adult that you needed as a child? Would the child you used to be proud of the adult that you are right now? If you answer no to any of those questions, then what are you doing about it? What are you going to do about it to change it? Okay. You know, I've said this before and I will say it again. When a sunflower does not grow in the Arctic, we don't blame the sunflower. It's the wrong environment. If you are in the wrong environment, you are not going to blossom and prosper into your fullest potential as a human being. You're in the wrong environment. But unlike the sunflower, you have a choice. You can pick up and leave a situation anytime you want to. You are not a tree with roots stuck in the ground. You can pick up and leave a situation anytime you want to. It's just a matter of how bad do you truly want it. There can be an excuse for just about anything, but there's also a way to achieve almost anything. It depends on what you're focused on and how you look at things, okay? You can't afford to go to college? Guess what? You can literally take Ivy League classes from Ivy League universities on YouTube. It's called YouTube University. All right. There is streamed, you know, sessions from Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, Yale, whichever school you can possibly think of that you've ever wanted to try to go to. A lot of them stream classes for free instead of paying hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay. You know, a lot of engineers, they start off at the bottom and work their way up and learn from people smarter than them so they can become smarter than the next, and so forth and so on. There is a way for you to achieve almost anything. It's just how bad do you truly want it? Okay. If you're poor right now, there's not a reason why you can't be 50% less poor in 3 months. First, you make your habits, then your habits make you. You are not a victim unless you give your consent to being a victim. And I know that might sound like victim blaming, but it's not, okay? We live in a world right now that plays this kind of victim Olympics, okay? And people are so outraged at this, that, and the other, and they think the more outraged they are, the more right they are. America's favorite pastime is not baseball anymore. It's outrage. But the thing is when you're so outraged, you're irrational, you're emotional, you're not thinking clearly and logically. You're irrational. You know, there's a way to achieve change personally, professionally, mentally, physically. Okay, if you don't like how you look, why aren't you going to the gym? If you can't afford the gym, why aren't you working out at home? You can buy a jump rope for $1.25 at the dollar store. You can make a jump rope with a piece of rope. You can get down and do push-ups, whether girl push-ups or regular push-ups, however you want to call those. You can do crunches. There's a way to do almost anything. With remote jobs, you don't even need to leave your house anymore. You don't even need to work in that state, okay? You can learn and do almost anything. The question is, how bad do you truly want it? And if you decide that you want it bad enough, you will find a way to do it instead of finding a way that you can't. where the world is against you, nothing's your fault, everything happened to you, woe me, poor me. That's the same attitude of those people that are trying to bully you online and in real life. It's because they're so insecure. They have not come to grips with their own fears, their own inadequacies, their own insecurities, that they would rather, instead of dealing with those themselves so they can be a better person and have a better life, they would instead rather tear you down and project all of those nasty things onto you, when in reality they really don't have anything to do with you. And that's the thing that we need to be teaching people at a younger age. It took me my whole life to really understand this. Anybody doing better than you does not have the time to be trying to tear you down. They're busy on doing their own shizit. They're busy working on themselves. There's a reason why a lot of the people that get up at 4 and 4:30 in the morning are millionaires and billionaires. It's because they're paying the daily rent for the success they want to have and to achieve and to maintain. A lot of the people that make those excuses, it's all bullshit. It's all excuses, and they will always stay at a certain level because they've come to terms with their habits. First they made their habits, then their habits made them. So they would rather try to tear down other people than work on themselves and start paying that daily rent to achieve that success that they want to have. All right, you could cure cancer, and there's still going to be people that think you're an ass. There's still going to be people that hate you. But you saved billions of lives by curing cancer. Do you see how that is such an irrational emotion? You're not going to achieve much that's worthwhile through hate. It has to be through love, through respect, through hurt and understanding, and your trials and tribulations that help you make decisions to become who you want to be. You are not your trauma. You are how you chose to overcome your trauma. And while we're at it, let's stop normalizing childhood trauma. All right, because that makes traumatized adults, and traumatized adults make really, really bad societies. Okay, and we don't want to inherit that kind of society anymore. You know, we've seen how that story plays out, but that doesn't have to be you. It doesn't have to be your story. You just have to have this conversation with yourself and decide, how bad do you really want it? Do you want to be a superstar? Do you want to be a pro wrestler? Do you want to be a cop? Do you want to be a teacher? Do you want to be an astronaut? Do you want to be an entrepreneur? Do you want to be a CEO? Do you want to be a doctor? Do you want to be a psychiatrist? I don't know what it is that you want to be, but I want you to go after whatever your definitions of happiness and success look like. Whatever that looks like for you. Make your list and decide that you want it and you're willing to go after it and pay that daily rent to achieve it. You'll be surprised where you are 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years from now. You'll be so proud of the journey you've gone on and the person that you're becoming, that anybody that wasn't along for that ride isn't even going to know you anymore. They're going to know an outdated version of you that doesn't even exist. And how magical is that? To see your growth as a person, and then to finally own yourself, meaning you can look back subliminally and give the little kid that you were a high five and saying, I got you. We're going to do some epic shizit. Just watch. Thank you so much for making way for me to grow up, and I'm going to make you proud. What's better than that? What is better than that? All right, everybody, this has been the latest episode of the Talks with Taeler Hendrix.